Welcome, brothers. This is part 5 of the topic on courage, respect, and likability. And I had to do this because these sessions are so short, and I had to do some explaining of some things. But we read the scripture in the previous part 4 about the Spirit of the Lord was upon Christ to uh, bring liberation to the captive and restoration of sight to the blind, and how I read that scripture out of Luke chapter 4 verses 8, I believe, right in there, and how the church's function is to help us orient ourselves towards love in God and love to our fellow man, and it be able to, at the same time, through the ministry, extinguish forms of self hate that have damned and scarred the souls of many of our Black Africans in our sojourn in North America and in our colonization in the continent of Africa. We have been scarred. We are a people that have been taught to look toward other people as just like God or even just short of God, and that our own um, identity and our own value systems that we were born into, that the Creator had placed us with, even the land mass that we've been just placed on from the time of creation, from the time of the beginning, is of no value to it appears to be no value in the minds of the Africans in the diaspora and the Africans on the continent if you're taught that and you believe that. There's some people that have not been conquered mentally like that, and they still value Africa. There's some in the diaspora, many in the diaspora, that value Africa even though they were taught to be negative toward their own continent and toward their own race. So there's some people that are overcomers, and that's what we want to inspire, and we want to encourage that we all live on this planet and we all can benefit, and we all have something to give, and we all have something for which to be proud of. So, in saying that, why is this so important? And as I said in the previous uh, topics, never again do we want to go back through colonization. We do not want to go back through slavery. But even as we sit here and speak today, there are certain retired generals from Europe and France and certain retired generals from the North America that have indicated they may have to consider recolonizing Africa. That means taking us back. And why? Because they say that the greedy leaders are lining their pockets. They're not doing what they should do for their people. But what is it their concern? Even if that is happening in that's family, what does it concern them? So the concern has to be deeper than somebody lining their pockets and doing different things. It has to be something else that is desired. So I don't tend to be expert at what it is, but you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that if there's gold and mineral wealth on the continent, maybe that's a pretext. It's just an excuse to come in and milk the cow, but don't feed the cow. And you got these guys that are leaders over people in the diaspora and people on the continent that are not worthy of their own race because they sell them out. They like that Uncle Tom that we talked about in the plantation. That goes along on the continent as well as in the diaspora. They're scared, but they want to be a high-ranking leader. They're afraid of enemies. They do not prepare for the worst and hope for the best. They just have a comfort in beating down on their own people. Even in the hoods and the ghettos, you got gang type guys that just beat down and shoot down on their own people instead of fighting a just cause that helps benefit mankind, period. It's selfish, it's hate-filled, and it's ungodly. And I say it again, I don't care if you don't believe in the afterlife, you're gonna burn in hell. It has to be one. You can't do this. Prison is a walk in the park compared to the hell that I've read about. I don't want to go there, but I tell you what, I don't want to go back into slavery either. I don't want to go back to colonization. So while we're talking here, let me see what this time is here. We're talking about colonization. Oh, that time looks kind of strange, but okay, so we're talking about colonization right now. I'm going to read something by a very well-known individual out of North Vietnam. Just the mere quote, I just want you to hear the quote. It is better to sacrifice everything than to live in slavery. And that's by Ho Chi Minh. He also says, everything depends on Americans because the Americans have brought war to their country. So he said, everything depends on America back in the 60s. He said, if they want to make war for 20 years, then we shall make war for 20 years. If they want to make peace, we shall make peace and invite them to tea afterwards. Also a statement by Ho Chi Minh. Then he also says, to reap a return in 10 years, plant trees. To reap a return in 100 years, cultivate the people. Now, Africa, this is a message to Africa. You have a huge youth population. Almost like 50% of your different nations, 50% of them are youth under 30, I believe. If that's what I've read in the stats, I don't have them in front of me. 50% of the people under 30 years of age are maybe 25. What does that mean? In the next 30 years, 20 years, they will have outpopulated the older generations. And in some other countries, their 50% of their population is over 50. So when people see, as I said in the book of Moses, and I keep going back to that story, see you multiplying, see you gaining and thriving against the odds, see the growth, rather than many of them saying, wow, that's interesting, great, but how are we going to feed all these people? They may say that, but they may say we need to deal with them just like they did back in the times of Moses, when they said, deal with them wisely lest they multiply and populate us. And but you're innocent in it because you're just living life, but someone else may see that as a threat. And these are things that you have to think. When I say prepare for the worst, hope for the best, always think in the best interest of your people, but at the same time, always flip that around and think about what's the worst case scenario of this and what kind of message this sends to other people who are hostile toward your nation. And once you can do that, then you can begin to strategize and think, how can we make this work for the nation rather than against the nation, and how this is going to keep us safe, securing our borders. What should we do? And You got people like Kwame Nkrumah was trying to tell you to pull together with other nations and come together economically and work with each other. But you don't seem to want to do, it just seems like some people just don't want to do that. They're just negative. They prefer to placate rather than come together and break bread on good terms for the benefit of the nation in the youth's best interest. So the unrest is going to come. You reap what you sow. The unrest is going to come. Your youth populations are going to get agitated throughout all the nations. Eventually, it's going to domino. And what eventually will happen is they're going to call for your removal. They're going to call for you to leave. Now, as far as the church is concerned, pastors, we really need you to take a good look at this, and you need to put your blessings on people who are trying to do things to help the economy and help the society grow in the diaspora as well as in the continent, because once those youth move through and begin to call for people to leave high seats of power, they're going to call for probably your resignation as well, because they say your service are no longer needed. You're not really helping us in the situation that we're in. You're just telling us about being saved, being baptized, and going to the life after. But in the meantime, we're starving and we're hungry and we don't have jobs here while we're living. So they're going to get tired of that message. And a lot of people are really leaving the church. They're leaving. And I, for one, have been discouraged at one time, but I realized that God is there. It's something that we're doing. It's not really God. It's something that we're doing wrong. And I know that it's tied in the spirit of love and the spirit of hate towards our own people, the way we've been conditioned to think. So those are some big parts of why we are still suffering like we are. Let me look at this time here. So I want to leave that with you, and I want you to think about it. I'm going to prepare a different topic for the next time we meet, and I'm going to look through here to see if there's anything. I have a quote that I made myself. I better read this, see if I can find this here. And the quote that I said is, never allow your people to exercise injustice and hate against each other. Your love must check them first. So that's from me. That's from Jamala. Never allow them to exercise injustice and hate. Check them quick. Check them. Make them be accountable to us, regardless of what position they have to answer to the people, the mass of the people. And when they can give you the right answer and they can follow through with it, fine. If they don't give you the right answer, you have to ask for them to be removed and call them out of that position immediately. Don't even let them finish the full term. If they don't function at a certain amount of time, they better give you good reason why. We don't have time to waste. They talk about colonizing, and it looks like the clocks are being turned back in North America with the unrest there, the injustice that happens in the court systems when young men are gunned down that aren't even armed, and the courts just kind of sometimes they apply judgment and sometimes they just sweep it under the rug. And you think it's going to go away like that. They're bringing unrest. All they have to do is make sure they put these guys away for stepping outside that law book. I don't want to hear a lot about they put their life on the line. The African people's lives are on the line every day they step out of the house. So it's not just law enforcement. Law enforcement is supposed to be de-escalating situations and serving the people. That's what. But why do we need you if you're just going to blow us away? And these things have to stop. So we can't look to them for answers. We have to look within ourselves for answers. Do we have to pull away from them? Do we have to put them out of our community? We have to tell them never to come around us. We're going to have to do something. Except for sit up and have funerals where the preacher comes and preaches and all he's concerned about whether a young boy went to heaven or not. He could be still living. So anyway, we're going to close there. Like I said, hit the thumbs up on that. We keep going. I'll go to some other lesson. I don't have a topic for you at this moment, but I'm going to close here and say, man, know thyself. Peace, love. God bless you.